Hey everybody, my name's Kyle, and this is Great 28 Live on Track by Track. Every day this month, I'm picking one of my 28 favorite live albums and posting a short video highlighting what I think makes it great. We'll never know if Jeff Buckley would have ever lived up to the legacy of his 1994 debut album. I featured Grace in the Great 28 last year, and it's an album that I dearly love. Tragically, Jeff Buckley died in 1997 before completing the follow-up to Grace. As a result, so much of what we now have to remember the man by has been cobbled together from what few recordings were available from his heartbreakingly short time as a recording artist. Much of what has been posthumously released has been live material, which is often the case for artists that have passed on. I've actually seen some criticism about this sort of thing, and specifically around the volume of Jeff Buckley live releases that have been put out over the 20 years since his death. I'm not personally bothered by this, not yet anyway. I feel like most of what has emerged from the vaults has been of respectable quality. One of those releases has been the 2-disc Legacy edition of Live at Chennai. Originally put out as just a 4-track live EP back in 1993, Live at Chennai was actually Jeff Buckley's very first commercial release. That's a fairly unusual step when launching a new artist, but when you listen to that performance, it's hard not to be captivated and intrigued. The Live at Chennai EP contained 2 of the songs that would end up appearing on Grace the following year. On the EP, though, the arrangements featured only Jeff and his guitar rather than the full band performances still to come. So 10 years later, when Columbia Records released an expanded 2-disc Legacy edition of Live at Chennai, I think fans had a right to be a bit dubious about the project. After all, the original Chennai was merely a 4-track affair. How could that possibly be expanded into a 34-track album, let alone 2 full discs? But what you discover here is that Buckley's Chennai performance was so much more than just a quick drop-in, play a few songs and pack up affair. On the contrary, this was a full-length solo performance by an artist who was largely unknown at the time. Along those lines, what we hear on Live at Chennai is Jeff Buckley kind of workshopping the songs that would soon become his classics. In the years to come, Buckley's rendition of Hallelujah would become ubiquitous, but in all likelihood, the small audience hearing it in this live recording are experiencing it for the first time. That Chennai performance is nearly identical to what will end up on Grace, since Buckley also plays the studio version on solo guitar. Most of the songs from Grace also appear on the Legacy edition of Live at Chennai, and it's fascinating to hear how they translate in that stripped-down setting. And like he did on Grace, Buckley also includes a handful of well-chosen cover songs for his set list. There's a pair of Bob Dylan covers, 2 more by Van Morrison, and the sparse yet transfixing Be Your Husband, Buckley's spin on Nina Simone's Be My Husband, which opens the show. Across the board, the music is all gorgeous, far more so than you'd expect from a concert that was essentially recorded in a coffee house. But that extremely intimate setting truly lends the performance a lot of its character. You can hear the din in the background during the quiet moments. But something else that makes the live album unique is the amount of stage banter and audience interaction that was left intact. Simply put, there's a ton of Jeff Buckley's chatter between the songs, and it reveals so much about his character. I don't mean this in any negative way, but Jeff Buckley was a goofball. He cracks corny jokes, makes obscure cultural references, and he spontaneously breaks into songs that are as far out of left field as you can possibly get. I will never hear the Hollies' Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress the same way again. I was in a store last week when it came on the radio, and I instantly smiled and thought of Jeff Buckley. So in a way, there's something about Live from Chennai that feels like it could be Jeff Buckley's audio autobiography. It's such an intimate and revealing performance, and over the course of its 2.5-hour runtime, you can't help but feel like you're really getting to know the guy. Like, this is his true self, like he's not putting on an act. This is exactly who Jeff Buckley would be if you were just hanging out with him on a Friday night and someone handed him a guitar. And as much as I feel a sense of grief for the loss of this talent, I still get a sense of joy every time I listen to this performance. And I think that's what Jeff was feeling too. In 1993, he wasn't a star. He wasn't a legend. He wasn't yet the mystery white boy he'd become in the afterlife. He was just a goofy guy with a guitar who could make an absolutely infectious sound when he took to the stage to sing and play. He is missed tremendously, but today he is celebrated. live from Chennai by the immortal Jeff Buckley. Today's entry in the Great 28 Live. That's it for today's episode. As always, I'll try to include Amazon ordering links in the description below if you want to add any of the music that I featured to your collection. And before you go, please take a second to click subscribe so that you don't miss the next episode of Great 28 Live, as well as many more videos to come. Once again, my name's Kyle, and this has been Track by Track. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.